Welcome to How to Survive the Next 4 Years. I am Lindsey Williams, your host. Just after the previous election, I contacted my elite friend and asked the question, what can we expect over the next 4 years? The response that I received, the information that I have, is so startling that the only way I know to put it is to say the most startling thing that any person has heard since the founding of the United States of America. Therefore, it required 2 DVD series in order to explain this. Number one, the next 4 years, all the information I was given. Secondly, a second series entitled How to Survive the Next 4 Years. And in this series, How to Survive the Next 4 Years, you'll find nothing but solutions. This does not contain any of the information that would be startling as to what's happening. We give you solutions for what you saw in the next 4 years. Now, I would urge you to please view first the next 4 years before viewing this DVD series, because only when you know the agendas can you understand the solution. Therefore, in the first series, we gave you the agendas of 3 different factions, as you will remember. And now, hopefully, there'll be 3 individuals who can give you the solutions to all of those things that you heard in the first DVD series. I have invited 2 of the most prominent people, most respected names that I know in the financial field to join me on this DVD series in order to give these solutions, because if I, as Lindsey Williams, not being in the financial world necessarily for many years as these people have, if I gave you the solutions, you would say, well, that's well and good, but did your elite friend tell you that? So these are people. One, a Wall Street insider, Mr. Tom Fowler, spent many years on Wall Street. And then Mark Johnson, people that I trust. They are Christians, they are honest, they can tell you correctly. You will see their faces, you will have their name, you will have their phone number, you will have their email address. You can contact them as a concerned individual that needs help if you find after viewing this that you wish to go further and protect yourself in light of what's going to happen. I, myself, Lindsey Williams, wish to offer the following suggestions, and then I will introduce my 2 friends who will give you in-depth, intricate details and suggestions as to how you can survive the next 4 years. First of all, it is going to require a total mindset if you're going to survive these next 4 years. You must be independent of every government agency. Now, you may be receiving remuneration, you may work for the government, you may someday plan to get a pension from the government. You may be on many different forms of government subsidy that we have out there today. You must prepare, and you may be receiving them right now, that's well and good. Do it as long as you can, but you need to prepare yourself with a mindset and prepare physically so that you, if you are independent of these things, you won't feel a total loss. You need to prepare to be independent of every government agency, no matter what it may be. You must learn how to prepare yourself mentally and physically for the day you may not have Social Security. That day is coming. It definitely will happen. If you're on food stamps, please be prepared such that you can do without those food stamps. Suppose you're on welfare or Medicare or Medicaid. Prepare right now so that if you didn't have it, you would be mentally and physically prepared. Again, health insurance. Be prepared that if that health insurance were not there, you could go to the hospital, you could get doctor's care because you have the funds at home to be able to take care of yourself. Pensions, I beg of you, Be prepared for the day that if you don't have that pension, you have prepared yourself to survive without all of these things. Create your own method of exchange. This is so vitally important. You can't depend on paper. So create your own method of exchange. Let me try to suggest a few common sense things, and then you can add to it according to what your lifestyle is, and in so doing, know how to prepare yourself. Let's just say, for instance, that you're a farmer. Your method of exchange could be food. If you, for instance, were a rancher, you could develop a method of exchange of a cow. The farmer, if he needs something from the city dweller, or he needs something from the hardware store, he needs to set up a method of exchange whereby his farm products would take care of what he needs at the hardware store or the grocery store. And the rancher, he needs to be prepared that that cow that he could get rid of by some method, whether it be barter or trade or sell, whatever may be available at the time, whether it be the present currency or new currency, be prepared to use what he has on that ranch as a method of exchange. Again, if you were a dairyman, you could use your milk or your butter. Or if you were a farmer, you could use your eggs. If you were a city dweller, what are you going to use? You don't have a cow, and you don't own that farm. You don't have the vegetables that you could sell or trade or barter with. What are you going to use? A city dweller? Well, it's very simple, really. What is the currency of the elite? You can use gold and silver. And you need to prepare for the day that you can be self-sufficient and you can provide for yourself. And these other things, you must have a mindset change, because the day is coming when you cannot pay the taxes that are going to be imposed on you. You must be prepared with your own method of exchange of some type relating to where you live, what your occupation is. Prepare and provide a method whereby you can be self-sufficient. Become your own doctor. As you watched the next 4 years, you realize that there's coming a time when you must learn how to herbs. Do a crash course on herbs and learn what herbs can take care of this or that or whatever it may be. Alternative medicine. There's so many alternative medicines out there, and you must learn them now. You don't have time to wait until later. Learn now how to do these things. Purchase now. There's some of these things that you need to get presently. For instance, we have added a section to lindseywilliams.net. That's lindseywilliams.net, not .com, but .net. Go to lindseywilliams.net. We have added a health section, and periodically I will be recommending things that you can use in order to prepare yourself to be your own doctor. For instance, the greatest killer in America today is cardiovascular, heart problems. There is a way that you never need to have a cardiovascular problem in your life. You never need a stent. You never need a blood clot. There is a way that you don't have to depend on the doctor, because the doctor may not be there. Right now, make preparation for yourself. Your immune system. It is said and has been proven that if the immune system is strong enough, it can overcome any known disease. And it is possible using natural substances to boost that immune system to the point that you can overcome the common cold, you can overcome normal diseases, you can overcome plagues that may come on the face of the earth. You remember back years ago when the Black Plague hit, and there were a group of men who were apothecaries, and they put together a series, a number of different essential oils, and when they would go out and rob the bodies of the people that had been thrown in the mass graves, and the king realized what was happening, he brought them in and he said, tell me your secret. You're not getting this plague. What is there that you're doing that the rest of us aren't doing, because we're getting it and people are dying? And they said, our trade is apothecary. And they said, we put together this and this and this and this essential oils. We rub them all over our body. And when we go out to where the mass graves are, we don't get the plague because of these essential oils. You must learn how to prepare yourself so that the immune system is strong enough that you can overcome all of the diseases. The doctors, you can't depend on them. Be your own doctor. Again, I beg of you, in light of what my elite friends have told me, pay off your debts. At any cost, get out of debt. It matters not what it takes. Don't make any more debts. If you can't pay for it, don't buy it. Just that simple. And one of the most valuable things that you possibly can have is a paid-for roof over your head. I had rather own a log cabin in the middle of nowhere and it be paid for and not have a mortgage on it than to own a $1 million mansion in the city that is mortgaged. You must pay off that debt. Get into a position where you own the roof over your head and you can take care of your family. You must have a mindset change. Are you beginning to see what I meant a few moments ago whenever I said a mindset change? It's going to require a change of the thought patterns that you have in order to be able to survive these next 4 years. Get out of the rut that all of us have been put in by the evening news. You turn on the evening news, you see what's there. Get out of that rut and think for yourself. You know what a rut is? A rut is a coffin with both ends knocked out. And that's not what you want. You want to be able to think for yourself and be able to survive, and you can. And that's the reason for this DVD, because we're trying to help you the best we can in light of what we know is going to take place to be able to survive those things. Again, your children. It's so vitally important that you homeschool. Oh, you say, I can't home. Oh, yes, you can. I have since kindergarten. And if I can do it with the schedule I keep, you can too. Homeschool your children. You can't leave them to the government. If you want those children to turn out to be good people and citizens and know the Constitution and live in our free enterprise system and succeed, they need to be homeschooled. Do everything in your power, if you can, if you have children, to homeschool those children. Now, let's get down to some facts. What are you going to do in the way of currency? You remember that many years ago, in fact it was back I believe in 2008, I was on the phone with my elite friend, and in the course of the conversation the subject came up as to what they use as currency. And you've heard me say on this on radio shows, I'll repeat it again, it's so important, and then I'll give you some facts concerning it. The elite, their currency is gold and silver. It's not paper. If it is written on a piece of paper, it is worth the paper it's written on. Let me give you some statistics and then beg you to do likewise. In 2008, at the beginning of the previous presidential administration, gold prices were $800 an ounce. And after I heard what I heard from my elite friend, I went over radio shows all over America and I said, I beg you, I plead with you, I get on my knees and ask you, go and buy every piece of gold and silver you can get your hands on that's minted by the United States Mint, because I said the day is coming that is the only thing that will maintain purchasing power. Now, let me give you the fact. 2012, 4 years later, what is gold price today? $1,750. Now you do the mathematics. From $800 to $1,750, did you make that much off of Wall Street? Did you make that much off of your 401k or your IRA? Did you make that much off of your pension if you have one? No. You must. The currency of the elite is gold and silver, and I predict that by the end of this next administration of 4 years, that gold prices will be at least $3,000. It's a suggestion. It will happen again, and it will definitely save the day for you again. And I say this out of experience. I'm here. A lot of my friends didn't choose to stay here. I have a suggestion. Many have said to me lately, Chaplain Williams, should I leave America? Things are going to get so bad here. Should I leave America? No. Let me say very emphatically, do not leave the United States of America. I have had so many friends, many, not one or two, many friends, they've left America. They've gone to South America. One bought a home in Israel. Others are all over there. They are leaving the United States of America. You know what has happened? Some of them left back 3 and 4 years ago because they saw all of this coming. They're back in America now. They would call me from abroad and say, I tried to establish a business down here, but I can't speak the language that well, and the people don't accept me because I'm an American and I'm not a citizen of this country. They've all except just a few have wound up back in the United States of America. You see, we are the only nation on the face of the earth who have a constitution that we can return to. It won't do you any good to try to run from the problem. Instead, force the government to get back to the Constitution. So, my advice to you, if you have thought about leaving America, taking what money you have and trying to swim the river and get across the border, my suggestion is stay in the United States of America. Because nearly every friend that I have had who left this country, and there are a multitude of them, and I'm talking about some of them wealthy. There was one multi-millionaire that went to South America. Oh my goodness, when I heard the problems he had, you know where he is today? He's back in the United States of America. And he said, I'm going to stay here. Start your own business. You cannot depend on the business that you're working for. You need to think about how to start your own business. Again, get out of the city. You remember that I made a survey back about, I guess it was 3 years ago, as to where the elite live. Yes, I was on the phone with one of my elite friends, and some of those people that I remember from back 35, 36 years ago, I didn't know where they live. In fact, I remember their names, but I didn't know where they live. And I asked my elite friend, I said, where does Mr. So-and-so live? Where does this man live? Where does that man live? And he said, well, Chaplain, this one lives here, this one lives there. We went right down the list with the ones that I haven't been in touch with over the years. You know where every single one of them live? There's not a one of them that live in a metropolitan area. Every elite that I could have any recollection of or ask my other elite friends about, every one of them live in a rural area. Their primary residence is outside of a major metropolitan area, and to my utter amazement, many of them live in the state of Alaska. Get out of a city if at all possible. Many of you can't. But if you can, do everything you can to do it. Get out of paper. You know, if there's any one thing that I could leave with you and say to you in ending my section of this DVD series is, at any cost, any manner possible, whatever suggestion that you can receive from Tom Fowler or Mark Johnson, take it to heart. Get out of paper as fast as you can, everything that you can. Get into tangibles of some type. A tangible can be a garden in the backyard where you can grow your own vegetables. A tangible could be a paid-for roof over your head. A tangible can be a farm. A tangible could be a house outside of the city. A tangible could be gold or silver. A tangible can be many things. At any cost, get out of paper of all kinds, because as my friends have told, my elite friends have told me, Chaplain, if it is written on a piece of paper, it is worth the paper it's written on. I trust that this DVD series will be a great help to you in surviving the next 4 years. And 4 years from now, when we happen to meet again somewhere, I hope that you'll be able to say, well, Chaplain Williams, you helped us. I'm doing everything in my power in light of what I know is going to happen to be a help to you in knowing what to do in order to be able to survive the next 4 years. How to survive the next 4 years. You are definitely going to want a friend like Tom Fowler. That's the reason that I chose him to be a part of this DVD. A man who was a Wall Street insider, a very knowledgeable individual in the financial world and many other things, who will offer a multitude of suggestions. Not only that, but you can contact him personally for advice if you wish. May I give a great welcome to Tom Fowler on this DVD.
I want to thank Chaplain Lindsey Williams for an opportunity to present information on investing and asset selection on yet another DVD production. As a result of appearing on the previous DVD, I was introduced to an audience that clearly understands the serious challenges facing the U.S. and global economies, but who do have fundamental questions about how to protect and position investments and other assets to accommodate these serious problems. It has been a pleasure to have helped many investors and families in Chaplin's audience through consulting and sharing ideas on how to protect and grow assets. And just as importantly, how to prevent the system from using your money to your detriment and to their benefit. I look forward to this continued dialogue. My objective. My remarks today will address how to survive the next 4 years, solutions in investment and asset management. But first, allow me to provide you with a disclaimer or a warning. Before I begin, I want you to have an important understanding. I know that listeners desire to make well-informed decisions on money and investments. So as you listen to this presentation, as well as to cable business shows, or when you read financial newspapers, or receive newsletters, understand that not all investment assets or strategies are appropriate for all investors. The risks of investing should be carefully considered. It should be understood that there is always a risk of loss of funds when investing. You should consult with competent and like-minded financial professionals before making any investment decisions. Commentary on any of these venues may simply be opinion or the judgment of the author and should be considered for informational purposes and not as specific investment advice. And might I add, the more information that you receive from the political and financial mainstream media, the more you are misinformed. As I begin this presentation, I want to thank you in advance for your patience with me. I'll be referring to my notes constantly, as you see, and I will proceed at a slow pace to hopefully provide emphasis to the information that I will be presenting. I am also going to present some complex concepts that may challenge your attention. I'll do my best to express the simple and practical aspects to these issues, but if you do pay attention and file this information away as part of your ongoing endeavor to truly understand what's going on, these complex concepts will enlighten this endeavor over time. I will tell a short story about how long it took me to grasp these various issues. So I will begin with the challenge. Let me be very clear and direct about the challenge we face. We have lived for the past 4 years and will continue for the next 4 years in unprecedented times. There are economic, financial, monetary, and investment market dynamics that are evolving the entire global system into a world that, at least in my opinion, is unrecognizable to the fundamental values upon which America was formed. There is a concerted, planned, and all-encompassing national and global grab for your money to fund programs, ideologies, and political systems that many of us in America simply do not believe in. Notice that it was everyday Americans who lost 40 to 50% of their stock 401k, and individual retirement account values during the economic and market crash of 2007 to 2009. It was everyday Americans who lost up to 50% of the values of their homes during a period in which the financial system and the various financial companies in it juiced up or inflated the real estate market to the highest degree, made substantial profits for themselves during this period, only for everyday Americans to be crushed under the inevitable deflation of our real estate values. And no one in the political or financial powers has admitted culpability in this. This system now owns virtually almost all of our homes in America today. My objective in this DVD is to inform you how to protect your money and your assets from those who have and will continue to use them, your assets, for their benefit and their own wealth building. This is exactly the structure by which the financial system has been created and is run on. Make no mistake about this. You have a right to your money and the values that your money supports. The key to clawing back our rights, our money, and our values lies in knowing how to wisely operate in their system while we work to diversify our assets out of their system. We are in a world today in which we need to design in our lives the greatest amount of independence possible. So let us now begin the quest. I would like to begin Surviving the Next 4 Years, Solutions to Investing in Asset Management, with the concept and practice of risk management. Guessing at which direction an asset or position will move is a bad investment strategy. Risk management is the most important aspect to investment management. And sadly, risk management is absent from most investment portfolios. Most investment advisors, with all due respect, have little training or experience in risk management. The reason why risk management is absent from almost all investment advisors is because they are simply selling you products in the services of the Wall Street and global financial elite. These folks need your money to see their wealth building. As a money manager, I'm in the business of managing the risk of tomorrow's uncertain and sometimes unknowable circumstances that may affect clients' wealth. Risk, at its core, is not being able to know beforehand the bad things that might depreciate your assets. Investment management is preserving wealth and growing assets. And in between these two pursuits, risk management serves as the director of operations. We've just gone through an unprecedented period of asset volatility. The stock market recently depreciated portfolios 40 to 50% of their values. One golden rule for investors is never to allow markets to toss their assets to and fro, destroying value that they spent years of hard work accumulating. Risk management is your shield against such asset destruction. Risk management requires preparation, active oversight, actions, readjustments, and the patience sometimes to actively wait for opportunities. Risk management involves a wide variety of markets, assets, methods, and strategies. And risk management has to be designed, tailor-made to address the personal nature of each investor's portfolio composition, financial objectives, and risk sensitivities. So I'm going to spend a few minutes going over how some of these variety of markets, assets, methods, and strategies can help you with risk management. Markets that enable risk management include the futures market, that provides the capability to hedge almost any asset or phenomenon, even the weather. The currency market can hedge a weakening domestic currency or economy. And the real estate market may at times balance a low interest rate environment by providing higher income returns. Assets that can help in risk management include gold and silver, which at various times perform well in weak economic or weak currency circumstances and may help mitigate inflation risk. Tangible assets are physical resources that historically have held value better than paper assets during distressing economic periods. Risk management methods include sell stop orders for stocks, put options, shorting assets or markets, and covered call writing, as well as many others. Strategies that might help in risk management may include dual long-term, short-term positioning, where some of the different movements in between the long-term and the short-term can balance each other out, disciplined trading strategies, and what I call contingency preparation to move assets into or from positions according to prospective economic or geopolitical events. In other words, you need to have strategies and plans to be ready for any circumstances that may occur. Another aspect of risk management, believe it or not, is mental and emotional. Some rules. Never make investment decisions from a mindset of anxiousness, fear, or greed. Preparation, planning, knowledge, experience, and disciplined adherence to a sound strategy represent the best mindset. These are only a few of the many more ways to employ risk management to your investment assets. The bottom line and the simple point is make sure you have a risk management strategy for your assets. Use of various markets. I want to talk a little bit about cross-market investing. And this might be one of those subjects which provides a little complexity to my presentation today. But I'm going to try to make the main points that at least you'll be able to understand and remember. Follow this scenario. An investor receives a brochure in the mail announcing that this weekend at a nearby hotel there will be a seminar, of course for free, that will teach how to generate extra income for the family, or even substantial enough cash flow to actually quit your job or to fund your retirement. These miracles will be accomplished through currency trading, or it might be through day trading, or in the options, or in the futures market, or with some technical trading software. Surveys and studies seem to indicate that over 90% of non-professional investors lose money when investing in this manner. You lose money, and these companies make it. You're on the wrong side of the trade. Allow me to suggest how to use various markets to your benefit. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, but not too much. I began my career on Wall Street as a stockbroker and learned how to evaluate stocks through legendary professors Benjamin Graham and David Dodd of the Columbia Business School, and through their great works on the subject of securities analysis. As I applied these principles to stock selection, I soon realized that all stocks or companies are undergirded by commodities, which I knew little about. And this knowledge was thus absent from my stock analysis. For example, Exxon at the time, of course an oil company, as I studied and as I analyzed it, I realized I knew nothing about the dynamics of the oil or of the energy complex. The same with Starbucks and coffee. and of course many other companies and commodities that are undergirded by them. So I set about to learn the commodities or futures complex and added to my investment advisor credentials a commodity trading advisor as well. Once in the futures market, I noticed currencies. I acknowledged my ignorance about currencies, learned them, and was astounded how little I had understood about the financial and trade relationships between countries, regions, and global commerce. Unfortunately, I wasn't done with my ignorance, for I discovered the interest rate market. And again, until you understand it and how it impacts virtually almost every financial instrument, you really aren't seeing the whole picture. I realized that sometimes some of these markets moved in complementary manners and other times in contradicting or non-correlative movements. The entire precept is something that I called the investment economy. An economy is a total system that is comprised of various parts or disciplines that intricately influence each other. The various disciplines of the investment economy include the equities and fixed income markets, the futures market, the many commodity and other assets within it, the currency markets, and the interest rate market. So for example, as one evaluates or analyzes a publicly traded stock, each of these disciplines or markets has a role to play in understanding the character and nature, or what I call the personality of this company, and eventually the prospects for its growth or contraction, including an assessment of its value. And the same principle applies to your investment portfolio. Each of these disciplines or markets has a role to play in understanding the personality of your portfolio and eventually the prospects for its growth or contraction, including the potential of its value. An analogy in the exercise or fitness world is unless apparently you apply CrossFit training, you're not exercising the entire muscle structure and body. So one has to have a CrossFit or a cross-discipline training in the investment economy to exercise one's full knowledge and practice of investing. One of the biggest mistakes for non-professional investors or traders is to act or isolate themselves in one of these markets or disciplines as a speculator. Understanding or working through just one of these disciplines places you in a position of being disconnected with the influences of that market and of the others. Understand that these markets need the liquidity that speculators provide in order for their side of the trade to benefit these markets and the sophisticated players on the other side of the trade. So you don't want to be one of the 90% of the speculators that lose money as sitting ducks, investing in a market or system that is stacked against you. But these markets, in a cross-market manner, can be used for your benefit. If there's a simple point to this complexity, that's it. So for example, instead of simply speculating on gold contracts in the futures market, if you own physical gold, the futures market can provide a means of protecting or hedging your physical gold assets from potential downsides. Another example, if most of your assets are based in the US dollar, use the currency markets to protect your dollar assets from a depreciating US dollar. In other words, use markets for your benefit. Don't allow markets to use your money to benefit the other side of the trade. Using these markets and disciplines to balance, hedge, and diversify your asset base is the right way to participate in the investment economy. Stock market. Most investors have most of their invested funds in the stock market. This includes equities and fixed income investments. It also includes holdings in 401ks and individual retirement accounts, or IRAs. These are paper assets. Please allow me to emphasize the following suggestion. Under the present economic and market conditions, investors in the stock market need to immediately protect these holdings. There are ways to immediately protect your assets that will be individual to your portfolio or asset structure. Do not act rashly in doing this. Get good advice on this, but get it immediately. In our analysis, the stock market will continue to be viable for a while longer, though potentially demonstrate great volatility. Keep in mind that there are times when the powers that be favor these markets. Remember, top executives get paid through stock options. And even when retail investors are shying away from these markets during volatile and uncertain economic times, these markets can be supported, believe it or not, through Fed and government policies. But you have to learn how to invest in these markets to be certain that you're not on the wrong side of the trade, that the side where other people are making the money off of you. There are various ways to get your money in the stock market protected. We have already discussed risk management. Again, working with an independent, like-minded financial advisor is key to this. 401ks and IRAs. Many people have asked us about their 401k and IRAs. Capitol Hill politicians are assessing tax changes that could let the Internal Revenue Service lay claim to a portion of the $18 trillion sitting in retirement accounts. A commission looking for ways to close the deficit and noting the extent of 401k tax breaks recommends an examination of the retirement system as one way to prevent government bankruptcy. Setting up the possibility of what? Another bailout using our hard-earned, saved money. We've been able to help many investors best figure out what to do with their 401ks and their IRAs, including how to roll funds out of these accounts without a penalty. Also, how to invest in tangible or physical assets in retirement accounts. We can also help you redirect 401k contributions to other tax-advantaged investments. Now, one of my favorite subjects. Physical resources, food, farmland, and grains. People are used to investing in so-called paper assets. These include, as we've discussed previously, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, and exchange-traded funds. The thing to understand is that once paper assets depreciate considerably, they have little intrinsic value or use to you. That's why more people are considering owning productive physical resources. Let me take a break and tell a story about one of my favorite farmers, Big Jim. I've been privileged to meet many farmers and to work with many farmers. And as they say, they're very down-to-earth people. Well, I guess one morning, Saturday morning, I was at my little local town's farmer's market. And apparently I'd had some meetings beforehand, early Saturday morning. And I went to the farmer's market, and I was wearing a suit. It might have been this suit, but I was also more formally dressed, or a little less formally dressed, without a tie and a collar, but just a black shirt under my suit, and the collar came up around my throat. Well, as I was buying bread from Big Jim, and I particularly like the cinnamon raisin bread, he immediately asked me, or said to me, "What are you, some type of priest?" And of course, wanting to give him a snappy answer back, I immediately said to him, "Well, Big Jim, I'm not a priest, but I'd be pleased to take your confession today." And without skipping a beat, he looked at his watch and he said, "Well, how much time do you have, because you're going to be here for quite a while?" Well, back to the quest. One thing we all know is that people were created to need shelter, water, and food. And food needs farmland to grow. There is a global rush to buy farmland, and super wealth is getting there first. Governments and the sovereign funds are buying and leasing hundreds of millions of acres of productive farmland all over the world. Well, there is a farmland rush in America as well. Everyday Americans are shifting from big agribusiness models back to the traditional American system of small farming and local food production. There is an opportunity for the people of America and their hard-earned capital to join with farmers to help them better grow food to the tastes and whole-based nutrition desired by Americans. All across this country, people are demonstrating this desire to partner with farmers through food co-ops, farmers markets, and an increasing desire for specialized, organically farmed foods. Farmland has had an extraordinary 10-year appreciation. So far, the bull market in farmland has shown little signs of pausing. Over the last decade, farmland in the core corn belt has appreciated about 275 to 300%, far outdistancing other investments. There are many creative opportunities for investments in this movement. Investing in farmland, while practical for more people than you may think, certainly isn't for everybody. So farmland investment can be downsized into our organic produce greenhouse growing, or even to urban food gardening on small tracts in your backyard. We have plenty of information that can help you learn about these and other farming and food production opportunities. There's an opportunity that I call as good as farmland without the annual crop risk. This opportunity is to buy or invest in actual physical high-quality grains, wheat, corn, rice, and other foods such as beans, honey, pasta, potato flakes, and more. These food resources are stored in a secure, climate-controlled underground facility and have been prepared and sealed naturally. No chemicals, to be preserved for over a decade or longer. The size of the containers that are available to buy are convenient for both bulk investment in approximate 2,000-pound containers and for stored ready-to-cook or use food supplies in 5-gallon buckets. If grain prices appreciate in the coming years, today's grain prices may present profit opportunities in the near future for the owners of these assets. Here are a few benefits to buying and owning and investing in grains. They help diversify assets from paper to tangible. And asset values potentially outpace inflation. Imagine if inflation ravages the economy a few years from now, but you own these grains and other food resources at today's prices. This is how you may want to understand the context to buying physical grains. In other words, this may be a sound opportunity in any of the following scenarios. First, grains have historically gone up and down in values, thus presenting opportunities for price profit. You've no doubt heard that a growing global population and a decline in arable land may push grain values higher in the coming years. Second, if the present poor economy, both nationally and globally, continue to deteriorate, which may include devaluing the US dollar and a depreciation of paper assets, the stock market, mutual funds, cash, physical grains and food assets may not only become more valuable, but necessary for sustenance. Third, in a worst-case scenario where barter may be a substantial form of everyday transaction, would not grain and food assets be among the most necessary and valuable to have as barter? The grains and food inventory at the preservation and storage facility are insured by the company against flood, earthquake, and other natural disasters. Regular independent audits are conducted to confirm the inventory of these grain supplies. Investors have online computer access to their grain accounts. These grain and food assets can be delivered to you at any time upon request, and these physical grains may be bought in self-directed IRA and in 401ks. Precious metals. I want to spend some time talking about gold and silver. Precious metals for many investors and families have become a significant asset. This is why the following discussion is so important. I will present 4 aspects for you to consider regarding gold and silver, and I'll concentrate on gold. But the same concepts also apply to silver. Buy and hold. Many investors have simply bought gold or silver and held it, perhaps adding to it over time. Gold has demonstrated substantial appreciation for close to a decade, so not a bad strategy. But all good things at some point do come to an end, and there may be some substantial short or midterm corrections by gold from time to time. So we always encourage gold and silver owners to establish a risk management strategy to manage these possibilities. I'll discuss more about this in a minute. Diversify gold holdings. Many of our clients find it prudent to diversify their gold holdings. You can buy physical gold and deposit it with a company that will store it for you. And you can decide to take possession of gold holdings personally. And by the way, if you do store gold in your home or business office, make sure that you check your home or business insurance policy to see whether such valuables are insured to some extent. We believe that it is wise to do both. Keep some gold personally and some in a commercial vault. For safety purposes, it is best never to put all your eggs in one basket or all your gold in one location. A representation of gold can also be owned through exchange-traded funds or an ETF in your stock portfolio or in an IRA account. These instruments may be bought or sold more readily than some physical gold holdings. If you still have holdings in the stock market, it doesn't hurt to own a gold ETF as well in your stock portfolio. As a matter of fact, gold ETFs have far outperformed stocks as represented by the S&P 500 index during and since the stock market meltdown in the 2007 to 2009 period. On the other hand, There are companies through which you can purchase physical gold, keep it in an account the company sets up for you. They keep your gold stored in a depository, and the gold holdings may be bought and sold quite readily. And these accounts can be managed by capable financial professionals. You can even hedge your gold in some of these accounts as well. Gold risk management. One of the important rules for an investor is never to fall in love with an asset, no matter how well it does over a period of time. Assets are simply instruments to make money with. So enjoy the appreciation of gold, but never leave your money unprotected and vulnerable to forces you don't control. Keep in mind that governments are some of the largest owners of gold in the world, and thus can substantially determine its price through their own purchases and sales. The U.S. government in the past, as many of you know, has even confiscated gold from private owners of it. So risk management over gold assets is vital. Physical gold value can be protected in a number of ways. Of course, if gold is declining in value substantially, you can just sell it and hopefully judge a lower price to get back in. One problem some gold owners may have with this is the accrual of a potential lofty capital gains tax. Investors have done so well with gold over time that the selling value may be substantially above the original cost basis, and of course upon sale, incur a capital gains tax to the owner. So you may want to consider holding on to the gold, but hedging or shorting it through a futures account with futures contracts. This locks in the current value of your gold holdings even though the price of gold is declining. Inverse or short gold ETFs in your stock portfolio can also be used for protecting or hedging either physical gold or long positioned gold ETFs in your stock portfolio. Making gold productive beyond appreciation. It is certainly good when gold appreciates, yet gold doesn't provide a dividend or a cash flow. There are active methods and strategies that can do this. Always work with a financial professional who can help decide whether you have a proper risk orientation to participate in more active risk-oriented strategies. Some gold investors are comfortable having two types of gold holdings, one for which they just buy and hold, regardless of the periodic ups and downs in the movement of gold. Another portion of the gold for which they attempt to take advantage of the ups and downs to buy at a perceived lower level and sell at a hoped-for higher point, making a profit. Recently, the value of gold topped at above $1,900 per ounce and sold back down to below $16 per ounce, only again to rebound up to just about $1,800 per ounce, thus providing an opportunity to buy low and sell high and make a profit, and then to consider after the drop getting back into the gold position. Silver recently appreciated from $30 an ounce to close to $50 an ounce, a 66% profit, and sold back down to $30 an ounce, a 40% decline. Some investors figure, why allow the precious metals market to simply push their values up only to bring them back down to where they started from? It's like riding an elevator up and down without getting anywhere. Another method that can provide cash flow from gold holdings is covered call and short put strategies. Again, it is difficult to explain such methods in a presentation such as this, but the owners of the gold and thus writers of these calls and puts receive a premium income or cash flow from their gold holdings in this strategy. So for appropriate investors, a professionally managed, consistent, and risk-managed program of attempting to take advantage of the ups and downs of the precious metals markets may provide profits and cash flow. The depreciating U.S. dollar. Chaplain Williams has passionately informed you about the implications of the depreciation of the U.S. dollar. Unfortunately, again, it is difficult to go into too much depth in a presentation such as this on how you can protect your assets from a depreciating U.S. dollar. But let me assure you that you certainly can. And how this is done will be very specific to each investor or family's asset composition. Perhaps we'll have an opportunity in the very near future to establish a forum wherein we may release additional public information about protecting assets from the U.S. dollar depreciation. A few basic methods to now mention includes the use, for example, of the currency market. Now, this is a very difficult market to invest in, as I mentioned before. So I wouldn't try this on your own, but the purchase of other currencies that are appreciating against a depreciating U.S. dollar will help preserve the value of your dollar-based assets. Buying some gold in foreign currency appreciating against the dollar actually helps preserve the value of your gold holdings. You may want to own some foreign stocks in a foreign currency that is appreciating the dollar or appreciating against the dollar to help protect or hedge your dollar-based stock portfolio. Currency ETFs may be used for such a protect from a depreciating dollar strategy. But again, the management of these currency implications requires professional advice and oversight. But this can and should, perhaps must, be part of your portfolio strategy, and it can be. I would be remiss if I didn't at least briefly discuss probably the best way to get your money out of their system, and that is to start your own business. We live in a country of everyday Americans with an entrepreneurial spirit to build the best businesses in the world, partnering and investing in each other. This is truly what makes America great. And how might government benefit this process? By downsizing and getting out of the way. By lowering taxes and eliminating regulations that control small businesses, making it more difficult for them to succeed. How about everyday Americans not bailing out big banks that should fail, freeing our money to invest in ourselves? One of my contributions to help the building and the succeeding of small businesses was to withdraw my business and personal accounts from a global financial institution that was bailed out to a wonderful top quality local bank. I decided to reverse the flow of funds from Wall Street to what I call Small Street. There are many ways to create wealth rather than by Small Street giving hard-earned money to Wall Street in the global financial system, but rather by everyday Americans investing in other Americans in small businesses on Small Street USA. Another issue we get asked about a lot is overseas asset placement. Many people have asked whether they should legally position assets overseas. Some countries do indeed provide tax and other business advantages for Americans or foreigners. An answer lies in the specific circumstances of individuals, families, and businesses. A prudent decision requires extensive, independent, professional advice in the tax, business, and legal fields. Many Americans have decided to strive to endow America with a better business and personal liberties environment. We feel that it's probably in the best interest of Americans to keep their precious assets as close at hand as possible. What good are hard-earned personal resources located in a far-off land when we may want or need them for either pleasure or survival? This is why we have developed a report entitled Optimal Business and Asset Placement, the States of America. There are some U.S. states, compared to others, that do engender better business and asset placement opportunities. We have designed investment strategies that accommodate the economic and business advantages of some U.S. states over others. Some states have better educational systems and thus better educated workforces. Some states have stronger credit ratings, more vibrant GDP growth, greater resource and energy independence. Some states have begun to stand against a more intrusive and overreaching federal government and against even international organizations and treaties. A few states, on a limited basis, have adopted the use of gold in some transactions, with about a dozen more states to follow. Some Americans have recently requested that their states secede from the U.S. government. This raises a question. Why should citizens and states that adhere to the proper boundaries of the U.S. Constitution, of limited federal authority and control, be the ones to leave the government? There are a growing number of Americans that are reminded of the principles of the Declaration of Independence. Please allow me to read from this great document. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. And please allow me to pause here. There are many people across this precious country who do indeed, unashamedly, believe that it is our Creator and not men who endow our rights, and that we have a right in the public square to this belief, a belief that founded this great nation. To continue from the Declaration of Independence, with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. This suggests to these Americans that a redeclaration of independence and a few alterations in our form of evolved federal government powers may be in order. It is with pride that I can state that I am a descendant of one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. The point is that we Americans who are citizens of states that have a propensity to free markets, individual rights, and who expect limited federal government interference, according to the Constitution, have a right to strengthen state governments in these ideals, to provide us with protection from an intrusive federal government, encourage good business opportunities, keep taxes low, balance budgets, and provide good investment opportunities. Now to conclude. I would be pleased to answer your questions and even help you evaluate your portfolio. You may email me at filer@tiac.net. As I stated in the beginning of this presentation, let us begin the quest. I will add to that together. I hope that the information that I've provided will get some of you off to a good start on the quest, and for others who are already on the quest, the encouragement of a quicker pace. So as I sign off, please allow me to encourage us all to continue on the quest as friends, as helpers to each other and to others, and under God. Take care, pray, and God bless.
The world today is shaken on all levels. Traditional patterns of getting a good education so you can qualify for a good job that lets you raise a family and hopefully have a successful career are all in question. The European financial crisis, along with the United States government printing lots of money to cover its massive debt, and the resulting hyperinflation that follows, are adding to much uncertainty. Predictions of worldwide food shortages and the U.S. economy collapsing are adding to the insecurities. Many people look to tangible assets like precious metals to preserve their wealth. Bulk foods are another tangible asset with a higher potential upside. Unlike gold and silver, these tangible assets can be eaten to stay alive if needed. To explain our setting, we're in the middle of Kansas City, looking at the opening to our facility that is placed in the side of a rock hill. While in the city, it's almost as secure as it could possibly be. As we enter our fortress warehouse, you can see we have limestone pillars over 60 feet, loading docks, office fronts, all just like above ground warehousing. I want to share with you what we're doing. We're taking basic bulk foods like grains, beans, rice, oils, and honey and putting them in a safe, secure environment where they almost last forever. We use large containers called IBC containers to store bulk foods in. They each hold approximately 275 gallons of liquid or 2,000 pounds of solid food, depending on which item we're storing. We do make sure the ones we use for food and water are food grade and safe. I'm in the middle of several hundred IBC containers. To my right, I have white hard wheat. To my left, I've got corn. And beyond, we've got many other things. But here in the caves, it is unbelievably quiet. We've got a dehumidifier going in the background right now, if you can hear a little bit of noise. But that keeps humidity here down to about 25% humidity. And it's 58 degrees year round. I mean, it doesn't matter what's going on outside, 58 degrees constant. It's kind of cool, like sweater weather. The advantage to buying food in this format is you can have access to it at any time. It doesn't take special equipment to handle it. It doesn't take a belly dump truck, like if you're taking it to a mill facility where you just dump it and go. Or the grain elevator, it has to be used, a dump belly truck with that as well. I believe we'll see times that availability could be limited. With grain in these containers, it's here, it's available. It could be 2 months or 2 years. At a day's notice, we can ship this grain in these containers to you wherever you may be. It doesn't even matter if you're overseas. We have shipping lanes that can ship to almost anywhere in the world. New in our tool chest today is the ability to offer you, the investor or the buyer, the ability to use retirement funds to invest in bulk food. We can take your 401k or your IRA and take either part or all of it and roll it over into a self-directed IRA that allows you to be able to invest in these grains or beans or oils or honey, whatever we're carrying, in these IBC containers like you see behind me. One question many people ask is, if I invest in this bulk food, what good's it going to do me in Kansas City if disaster hits in my home in California? And I've got a twofold answer to that. First, I say you need to decide if it's bread or if it's seed. If it's bread, meaning it's food you're going to feed your family when disaster hits, or it's food that you want to have on hand to give you comfort just to be safe, then that's something you need to keep in your garage or in your basement or right where you can get your hands on it without going anywhere. On the other hand, if it's seed, if it's something you intend to invest, that you intend to grow, then it shouldn't matter where it is as long as it's safe. I mean, with your stocks, your bonds, your gold bullion even, you keep gold in a vault, you keep money at a bank. It's no different with this. We've got a safe environment. We've showed you our building. There's nothing but rock. It's as safe as anything there is. It should give you a comfort zone that is just well worth the investment. This is Terry Leverett. Thank you for watching.